The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. Navy Federal Credit Union helps you take control of your finances after the holidays. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Team Never Quit podcast. How's everybody doing today?
I'm having an awesome day. How's yours?
It's good, man. Had some Mexican food for lunch down in Magnolia.
Tell me about it.
So I did the Tex-Mex combo, tamale, enchilada, and chicken fajita. And, dude, so good.
What was the name of it?
Tex-Mex combo. What was that place called?
Rancho
Grande.
Rancho Grande?
Rancho.
There you go. There you go. All right.
Hey, we got a great Patreon questions for the day. Have you ever dined and dashed at a restaurant?
Oh, dude. Straight on the call out. Have you?
Is that
You're asking me if I ever broke the law, right?
Yes, sir.
Straight out of the bat, man, huh?
Yeah, I'm not proud of it. I think it happened a time or two. Young kids, dumb, and just didn't think of the consequences.
Sure.
But, yeah, been there.
All right, I'm gonna always err on the side of that I did it. Even if I don't really remember something. Because sometimes I was in dining, and then we had to run the hell out of there because of whatever fight ensued or whatever happened. So technically, I think we might be safe on this one.
Yeah, if you don't remember it, did it really count? I don't know.
But yes, as youngerlings.
Youngerlings. Hey, that's a great Patreon question today. Thanks for throwing us under the bus
Is
with
it?
that one. Yeah, I think so. I think it's great because they really get to know you.
Yeah, well, we're doing that.
We're doing that now. Hey, if you guys want to check us out on Patreon, it's patreon.com/teamneverquit. We've got some exclusive access behind the scenes, merch, a challenge coin, all kind of other cool stuff. But we've got
I got it. I got it.
it.
All right. The best one that we ever pulled off was in Vegas because we didn't have. My buddy got married when we were still in college. We were like 20-something years old, and I didn't have enough money for the plane ticket or anything like that. So somebody paid for me to get out there. Then we all stayed. Must have been 20 of us, and we split one hotel room. So you can imagine we weren't planning on sleeping, so we didn't have enough money to drink. So we would go into every casino and sit down and act like we were playing slots.
Yeah.
And then when the waitress would walk up, you get free drinks.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And then we'd order some other stuff up as well. And then as soon as she brought it over and drop it off, then we'd be like, hey, our buddy just showed up. Can you bring him some stuff? And when she left, then we'd haul ass. So, yeah. And me and my partner, we robbed every casino in Vegas.
Oh, God.
Of some alcohol.
Oh, my gosh.
That's the best one I got.
That's good. That's real good. This is out in the world now. You ready for that?
I couldn't. That was kind of like gangster.
That was very gangster of you. Hey, guys, we've got a great guest in store today. Matt Fraser is a retired Canadian-American professional CrossFit athlete competing from 2014 to 2020. Fraser is the first athlete to have won 5 CrossFit Games titles consecutively. He's widely considered to be the most dominant ever male athlete in the sport of CrossFit. Matt has a background in Olympic weightlifting and was a junior national champion. Matt, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been a long time in the making.
Where are you at right now?
We're in Salt Lake City right now. We're posted up here for like two and a half weeks, but we got I think we're just over a month on the road. We got like 3 or 4 stops, but Salt Lake was the place where all right, we're just gonna get a house, and this where all our people are coming in to do a bunch of work, have some fun. But yeah, just a fun place. I always enjoy my time here.
All right, so you're not in the grind, or you kind of are in the grind. What about the holidays? Did you get do anything cool?
Thanksgiving is Sammy's family. That's like their holiday. So it's like always go down to her family, big, just a whole day with the family, lots of food, but mostly just hanging out.
Yeah.
And I think this year we are going to get home for Christmas. But it's like we get home like a couple days prior. So it's just going to be Sammy and I for a couple days.
Y'all normally do a big family thing? We do for Thanksgiving, man. Christmas, we're kind of hashing that out as well. Melanie and I are talking what we're going to do because I think we're going down to the grandparents in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So we're kind of hashing that out
Thanksgiving
right now.
on my side of the family, it was never a big thing because both my parents are Canadian. So like Canadians have a different Thanksgiving. And so, my dad would go up to see his family, but my brother and I were still in school. So we would stay home and not celebrate Canadian Thanksgiving, then American Thanksgiving would come around. We would just kind of load up, go to camp, have some time up there. But Sammy's family, it's the holiday, it's not really materialized. It's all about just spending time together and just sharing a plate. So that's like their Super Bowl.
Man, dude, if I was lucky enough to have any Canadians in my family, I would celebrate every one of those holidays.
Yeah, I know, right?
If it was split down like that, if I had one of those, I'd be like, I'll be there. Hell yeah, we're partying.
Growing up, it was like you're in school, and so it just wasn't that big of a thing. And then Christmas is always super low key for Sam and I. We don't really do gifts. We don't really do any of that stuff. It's just about like a day together. We have a couple fun traditions, but it's more just like a quiet day at home, just the two of us. We're always working, always traveling. So it's like any opportunity we have to like have an excuse to just be home, and nobody else is working, so we don't get any calls. So it's nice.
Oh man. Well, here's the deal. When I was still doing all the traveling, especially before the kids came in, when it was just me, when we're alone, that's a thing too. But when you're traveling, when there's two of you still traveling, you can always be on the road, and we were too. And then when the kids come online, all those travels that you went on and all those little customs and traditions that you hear a lot of people having in the family, bro, once I got my kids online, I started so many traditions. I write them down just to throw a lot of them to see which ones stick. Yeah. Here's another thing. I tell them like, hey man, a lot of this has been in our family for a long, long time, because some of it has. And then some of it has been in somebody else's family for a long, long time. But the tradition is still important. Mm-hmm. And man, we have fun. I Griswold the outside of the house. I mean, light everything up just to have something to do to pass down for the kids. So don't worry about that, man. That comes later, bro. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're the two of us, we're no kids so far. So I mean, it's nice to have the freedom of like, an opportunity comes up and it's just like, yeah, we'll hop on a plane tonight, like there's no accountability to anything like that. So we can, but I think, we're getting to the point where like we value our time at home more.
Well, that's how you know. That's how you know there's a shift.
Yeah. And it was always something I wanted too, of like, I never wanted a household that I counted down the days to my vacation. I didn't want to count down the days till I can go to Mexico or go wherever it is for a vacation. But no, I want my home to be a place that I want to be. Yeah. And now, it just travels crazy. It's like you can be on the road 300 days a year. Yeah. Like that. And so it's like whenever we do trips, we try to lump them all together. So we piggyback them all and just knock them all out at once. Then we get a good stint at home. But man, it wears on you.
Oh, that's why it's good to have somebody to roll with.
Dude, I am grateful for that every day. It's just like, there's no road trip too long if you have if you have a fun person in the car.
That's what, yeah, absolutely.
And I am grateful all the time, and I vocalize it to Sammy every trip we're on. I'm like, how lucky are we? And luck had nothing to do with it, but it's like how grateful I want to like voice my gratefulness to her of like, man, we get to do all this shit together. Fuck. Yeah. Because I've been on trips before, like the beautiful landmark, it's supposed to be breathtaking. You're doing it by yourself and you're like, this means nothing.
Right. Man, when you're by yourself, it's not that it's not cool and you can't appreciate it, but I think having someone next to you helps you, because you also appreciate it from their perspective.
Exactly. Like when you're doing it alone, you're just not sharing it with anyone. Oh. And it's the same with, I mean, it applies to so many things. So like you can have a big, beautiful house and it's like, all right, well, this sucks. If you're by yourself, it's just a big empty house. But as soon as you share it with someone, going on trips, going on adventures, going through highs and lows, it's all better with someone. So I'm so grateful that I have someone that like, A, I love, but then B, I'm friends with. Yeah. And get to just go on this crazy fucking adventure with. And even if it's a terrible time, we'll laugh about it down the road. You know, it'll just be like kind of a laugh at my misery type of story. But yeah.
Man, and the best is when they're reminders that it happened. I mean,
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
I have the memory of a goldfish, and so
Bro,
like
on some of that stuff,
Sam,
yeah.
Sammy will bring up a memory, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And she'll like have to like, that time we were in Brazil. It was when on this excursion, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And, dude, for me, it's like I have the memory of a goldfish. It goes in one ear, out the other, and it's like, all right, I got someone keeping me in line.
Man, that's good shit, man.
Matt, you got to take us way back though, man. Were you always athletic guy, like from the childhood?
I would like to think so. I'm maybe if you talk to some of my like sports coaches when I was in third grade, they might have something different to say. But I don't want to say I was left unsupervised, but I had a father that encouraged me to try things. Um, Stay at home dad, and you got a couple trampolines in the backyard. You start doing some reckless shit. But yeah, always involved in sports. Whether it was skiing, soccer, football. Got into weightlifting at a pretty young age. But was I probably wasn't the most naturally gifted athlete. I always had incredible body coordination, and I was always like the strong one in the group. So basically anything I tried, if I had an interest in it, I could pursue it and do okay. But I think I was.
Explain that. Explain that part. I mean, because being good at something, some people. I was talking with somebody the other day about, man, hey, the difference between let's say the greatest fighter ever and the best fighter ever, or the greatest athlete ever and the best athlete ever. And some people are like, there's no difference. I'm like, well, man, there kind of is, right? There's a huge difference.
Yeah. I've had it, from the two sports that I took seriously. I competed in Olympic style weightlifting for about 10 years, and then obviously had my career in CrossFit. In both of those, I never looked at it like as if I'm like the most naturally gifted, not at all. Like my first day in both of those sports, my first couple years in both of those sports, like people were whooping on me. But it was, once I decided like, okay, I enjoy this, and it's not just the instant gratification of I'm good at this and I'm getting pats on the back, but like there's something about it that clicks and I enjoy it. If I'm going to pursue it, I have the physical and mental capabilities to tap my full potential. So like with weightlifting, I walked into the weight room that I started Olympic lifting in when I think I was about 12, and there are other kids my age, my weight, that were out lifting me, that were catching on to the technique more naturally. They needed less and less coaching cues. But like once I decided, I like this, well, I'm going to work my ass off. This is something that I want, so I'm going to make sure that I get it. Same thing with CrossFit. When I first my first day in a CrossFit gym, I remember getting dusted by this dude. He had to be early to mid 50s, a little bit overweight, and when it came to the running portion of the workout, he just like cooked by me. And so it's like I was good at some things, but I was terrible at others. But once like I went to a competition and I think I took 5th place, and I was like, all right, I don't like that. And so the day I made the decision, like, okay, I want to be good at this, it was like, okay, I'm going to learn what I don't know, and then fucking hammer it until I'm great at it.
So let me ask you this. When you first get into something, whether it's the CrossFit or the lifting or just, I guess, life itself, because eventually you turn into it. But were you the type that when you went into the gym, did you go into so you could lift heavier weights, and did the guys that were in there lifting heavier, are they the ones that drove that for you to lift heavy? Like, was it competition between yourself or the other people, or both? Because I look at some of the things that I do and I'm like, man, the only reason I do that and get good at it is so I can do it with my boy, with the guys and in the team environment. And then there's the things that you get proficient at that are different. Like you love it. It's like the more you do it, the more you want to do it.
Yeah. I've always counted myself very, very blessed in the fact that like I think I have both of those.
Yeah.
So like, so a little bit of background. Both my parents were competitive figure skaters, They
That's
were
right.
pairs freestyle figure skaters.
That's right. I remember you telling me that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So they went to the 76 Olympics, and, you know, so incredibly athletic, incredibly gifted, and they work their ass off. But my mom was more along the lines of like work when nobody's looking. Like she's doing it. She loves a hard day's work. And she's great at it. She dedicates herself to it, and she wants to be the best. And so that was like the work in silence, and then kind of appear in the public eye, do your thing, and then kind of go back. And then my dad was like polar opposite. My dad hated training, but he was a performer. When he had another set of eyes on him, he loved to perform. When he had a resentment against another competitor or something like that, he was like, oh, okay, like I'm going to beat you. That's going to be my success. And
I can't believe I forgot about that, man.
I got the best of both worlds. And
Oh, yeah.
like, I love, like, when I have a home gym, and like I would go in and I'm like, all right, this is the ideal situation because I don't have to share equipment with anyone. I don't have to wait on a training partner. I don't have to do what the coach is saying. I can do exactly what I know I need to be doing. I can be on my own schedule. I have all access to everything I need. But then also when I go into the gym or in a competition and there's other eyes on me, now I get to race someone else. Now I get to show off a little bit. I get to show off what I've built in silence, in the darkness, and like bring it out. So I genuinely love both scenarios.
I'll tell you what, man, coming up, I was the same way. I like to get proficient at something, but before you go out and you try and tackle it in the public. And then there's the people who react better with that.
Trying to learn something. To learn something.
I know, exactly.
When there's people over your shoulder, it's like, yo,
it's
fuck
impossible.
off. Like,
that's impossible, right?
I had that a lot through my career of like, you know, anytime there was something I wasn't proficient in or as a weakness, I would seek out a professional or seek out advice of like, show me how to do this. And a lot of the times, you know, that you have a group, you have to travel or they have to travel, all this stuff. And I would have the person show me, or I would like, you know, read a book or, you know, watch YouTube videos to try to learn how to do this skill. And then like the first time I'm putting my hands on it, I would literally be like, okay, like everyone go away, like go away for an hour, or I'll go away for an hour. Let me practice this a little bit on my own. So I'm taking out the variable of other people's judgment or like other people's critiques, because I want to learn by having my hands on.
Yeah.
And so I remember like there's one event from 1 year competition. So it was the second time I took second place at the CrossFit Games. And there was one piece of equipment. It was called the Pig. And it was just like it was basically like a solid refrigerator. It was like 500-600 pounds, and you just had to flip it end over end. And it bundled me. I couldn't figure out the technique, did terrible in the event. And it essentially cost me the competition. But anyways, right after the competition, I was like, I'm going to get that piece of equipment. I'm going to become amazing at it. So next time it comes up, I'm prepared.
Right.
And this thing gets delivered. And it's like, it's in a busy gym, you know, there's 40, 50 people around at all times. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to practice this in front of everyone. Because then you're going to get all the critiques from other people that also have no idea what they're doing. It's the pride, it's the ego of like, I don't want to look vulnerable in front of other people. So it's like, I remember going in like every Sunday night, gym would be closed. I would go in, flick on like the one light in the back room and just flip it over and over and over. And it was just like, I was by myself, like no one there to pat me on the ass, no one there to criticize me. I was like, no, I want to be alone with my thoughts and figure this thing out. And that's how I like to tackle a lot of things of like, if I need help, I'll go searching for it.
Yeah.
But when I'm trying to figure it out for the first time, I just need some time by myself.
Yeah, it's almost as trying to figure yourself into whatever it is, not the other way around. I do it that way as well, which is kind of crazy because once we got into the teams, everything we do is from the ground up. Like we learn how to move and shoot and do everything together. But before we did that, we obviously had to be individually trained for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, doing things as a team and doing things individually are two completely different.
That's completely different.
Yeah, I've always stayed on the individual side. because, you know, I'm willing to bet, like, in your scenario, that's one of the rare scenarios where you're around as like-minded people as yourself. Like, they probably don't make the cut if they're not.
Right. So the way
Am I right?
like, well, that's funny you should bring that up, because just the other day I think about that. People ask me that question, and it's almost as if they throw us into a scenario. Take one guy from each walk of life, like the thing's completely different in everything, and put us into a scenario where we want to be in there, but we're getting our asses kicked so bad. And this is the craziest part. So you'll be laying there going through something like, man, I'm suffering. This is terrible. What's up? And you'll roll over and look at your buddy, and you can tell he's just not having a good time, right? He's just miserable as shit. And that somehow, some way fires you up, all right? And then you're like, man, I just want to be here for this guy so I can watch him because he makes me laugh. But then he's willing to sit here beside me and go through this crap together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, so what happens is our egos clash together and then be like, just kind of leave. And then you got what's left. So we learn how to operate inside that realm. It doesn't matter how alpha the male, the apex predators, man. Once we became a pact, like when we packed up and we started moving together. Well, I mean, y'all see the results now.
Yeah,
I mean, it was kind of unstoppable. So we talked about this, man. We do the same, the CrossFit and all that stuff. All the guys are huge into that. I mean, we have guys who just study physics all day, and then we got guys in your world too. So that is a difference. They can clash, but moreover not.
Matt, can you talk about? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, that's like, I've always steered toward individual sports, because it's like, if your outcome is determined by one person that isn't as dedicated as you, or doesn't care as much as you, it fucks up everyone's effort. It doesn't matter how hard you try. If that guy's not holding up his responsibility, it's wasted, you know? Yeah, I mean, I've always just looked at what you guys did and was like, wow, that's incredible that there's that many like-minded people that come together.
Yeah.
Let's take a second to thank our sponsors over at Mountain Tough. They have got a huge announcement. After 2 years in the making, behind the scenes, the Mountain Tough Plus native app is finally here for you. It's ready to be downloaded on all your platforms, whether it's your iPhone, your Android, your Apple TV, Roku, and many more. If you haven't heard me talking about Mountain Tough, I got to talk to you about them. Mountain Tough Plus is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Trusted and used by dedicated backcountry hunters, wildland firefighters, law enforcement officers, U.S. military special forces, and now you can train on your time, your way, from your phone, tablet, TV, or the web, because Mountain Tough Plus is an all-access subscription giving you access to all of the Mountain Tough programs. You know, when you go to the gym and you don't know what workout to do, no more of that. With Mountain Tough Plus, they have created the most functional fitness programs ever designed and delivered straight to your phone. Created by veteran Navy SEALs and Army Rangers, they make it convenient to go to the gym, do the prescribed workout, and get in the best shape physically and mentally of your life. I've been a huge fan of Mountain Tough for a while. My favorite part of Mountain Tough is their focus on mental toughness. You guys know at Team Never Quit, we are all about overcoming adversity and focusing on mind over matter. Everything they do is grounded in one purpose, which is life transformation. And my favorite program from them is their 45 to 70 heavy pack program. And that is because I don't have a lot of equipment at home. I have a little bit of space in my garage for a gym, but not a lot. And honestly, I didn't want to spend a bunch of money. And I've been really kind of getting into the whole rucking thing. And so their 45 to 70 heavy pack program was designed for those that didn't have any weights at all. And the greatest thing about Mountain Tough is their community. They have over 10,000 Mountain Tough Plus athletes, which means the community is strong, supportive. They're going to keep you accountable. Their workouts are available in the Mountain Tough Plus subscription. You can start today with no equipment at all. And that's the best thing. For some of you guys like me at home, you just don't have a lot of space, or maybe you don't have the money to invest in it.
It took a while to build that program. We compliment all the time, like, man, how in the heck did that create that? And we're like, man, there's a lot. We kind of had an idea.
It worked out somehow.
Yeah, right. You can put it together, and the concept came together, but what it produces is something completely different. Like the program the CrossFit. I mean, it started out as one thing. I'm sure now it means something completely different to you, right? I mean, the way you think, the way you move. Just being at that level of athletic performance all the time, the people that you're all around all the time. I mean, just all the stuff coming out of your mouth is motivational.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. like there are some things that I learned along the way, but like, the competitive drive, the mentality, the dedication, things that kind of are more life traits. I kind of already had those because I already, like, before I got into CrossFit, I already had a sports career that, just knocked me on my ass, and like I didn't have a choice. I was either roll over and die or get up and, keep doing it. So, I already learned some incredibly valuable life lessons prior to getting in CrossFit. And so, CrossFit was just kind of a bonus. I thought my sports career was over and done with. And then, like, after a year of doing nothing, started kind of dabbling with CrossFit. And then I was in school full time, and was just doing it, just kind of, I gained a bit of weight after I retired from weightlifting, and, just had a tough time meeting people at school. And so it's just like, all right, this is my outlet. This is where, I'm going to shed off a bit of this weight. I get to meet some like-minded people. And then the whole competition thing kind of happened. I don't want to say by mistake, but, the gym owner saw the potential in me and wanted me to compete in a competition. And I was like, I don't have the money for the sign-up fee. And so he's like, all right, I'll sign you up, but if you win, you have to buy some CrossFit shoes. And I was like, okay, cool, deal. And then I won, and it was a couple $100. And I went like, holy shit.
Like, did you win, or did you like, did dominate the whole program?
I think it was only a 1-day event, and I'm pretty sure I had the competition won before the final event. So I went into the final, like the last event of the day, already having it wrapped up. But it definitely wasn't like a domination,
right,
because it was like, I was so new, I didn't have a set of lungs on me to save my life. I was strong as hell, but that's about where it ended. And, but it was after that, once I was like, oh man, I can make some pocket money while I'm in school. Okay. Like, and so I started like looking up other competitions and if there was like $1,000 on the line, I was there. And I looked at it like a part-time job of like, all right, if I want to perform better at work, I need to get better at rowing. I need to get better at biking. I need to get better at weight, like whatever it was. And it was all with the intent of like going to that competition and performing better so that I could like have some pocket money.
Yeah. So the difference between when you guys step in there for the competition, that's when you're in the gym working out. I mean, you guys press yourself just as hard. What's that like?
Yeah. When it comes to training, you have to look at it over the long haul. It wasn't, if I trained every day the way I competed, I would have broken 4 years ago. So, it's training absolute max effort today, which still allows me to train tomorrow and the next day. So I always trained in like usually about 3-day intervals. And then it depends on what time in the season. I was one of the few athletes that actually took an off season. I would take a full month off after competition, and you're physically recovered, after, 5 days a week, maybe. But then it's just a mental break after that. It's stepping away from, the physical demands, but like the mental stress of like, oh, fuck, I have to do rowing intervals today. And basically like, your cardio session was you can put your stamp on it. Once you're gasping for air, you're tasting pennies, you feel like your lungs are bleeding. And it's like, okay, I did everything I could today. Like, I'll come back tomorrow and do it again.
So just to explain CrossFit a little bit better, because when you watch the CrossFit Games, I guess, I mean, it's almost like watching the best in the world work out at the same time in y'all's gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a huge difference. When people watch that, it gets terrifying. I mean, to even think about getting in CrossFit, your normal person to be terrified to walk into the gym. To get in there and work out is actually a good time. I mean, when we explain it like this, when we're talking about the games, like, man, this sucks, and the rowing, it kicks your ass. I'm like, man, a normal CrossFit gym member to go in there, it's a good time. I mean, it's a good workout.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it for years. Like I've had friends that I love watching the movie that comes out every year. I love watching the competition. I could never do that though. And it's like, all right, but like what I do and what CrossFit is are two completely different things. Like the the sport of CrossFit. Like you go into a CrossFit gym and it's like a 1 hour start to finish, infinitely scalable. Like it's no matter what your fitness is or what your, you know, limiting factors are, there's something there for you. You know, like my mom is 66 and she goes to CrossFit every morning, like every morning. And then, you know, you got me who I'm like, okay, that 1 hour, that's not what I'm training for. I'm not training for to be fitter for life. I'm training to compete
in a game.
And so it's like, I'm not leaving any stone unturned. So, you know, anything and everything that can show up in competition, you know, there's the typical things, you know, there's the conditioning, the weightlifting, gymnastics, but then you're getting into these even more specific skills of combining all these different things, training anything from a 10-second workout to a 3-hour workout, which we've done and seen both. But then also like the stuff like having to practice biathlon shooting, having to practice getting in a rowboat, you know, road bike, like all these specialty things. It's like, yeah, a regular CrossFit gym, you're not going to be going to the lake to get and learn how to scull, but it's like, it might show up for me. So I got to practice.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like a universal soldier program you guys are starting up there. Because, I mean,
trying, I guess.
You know what I mean? Every time I hear there's something new added to it, and there's a huge difference. It's like watching professional basketball and watching those guys being scared to go play on a court just because you might run into them. I mean, that's not
exactly
the case, right?
You know, it's like, you know, I'm not watching like a UFC fight and going like, oh man, I can never try BJJ because like I'm gonna get my ass kicked by one of those guys. It's like, no, absolutely not. Like I'm gonna start out at an introductory level and then build up as high as I want to go. You know, so it's like, yeah, you know, they're two separate things. We're just doing the one to the absolute extreme where it's a full-time job day in, day out. And then the other version is 1 hour from walking in the door to walking out, 1 hour and you're done.
Sure. Help me. I would break it down for some of the people when they come in. I'm like, hey, just showing up for a few minutes and looking in there, it's a routine. It's a pattern. If you can't do something, or if you don't think you're proficient at it, start with the basics. When I would try to heal myself, I was like, hey man, let's do one push-up. If just every morning get down to one push-up. Eventually you'll start doing two. Mm-hmm. But you can everyone can do one. And it literally starts like that. Just and the guys like with you and the guys the program that I went with on the opposite side, with the team up guys, that part's the same. It's like even when we get beat down and at the top of your game, man, when you're crushing, I mean, you're setting the standards, right? So every time you guys do a new competition, that means they got to come at with something new. Mm-hmm. That's like the Nitro Boys. Every time, I think the biggest mistake the Nitro Boys made was they put it on video because you can watch it over and over. And so everyone's be like, hey, what do you got next? Let me see something else, man.
Exactly,
what
right?
What do you got? I mean, and y'all are testing that. Yeah, we just keep pushing.
I mean, it's the same in every sport. You know, it's like when the first person, like they said, the 4-minute mile was impossible. And then as soon as one person did it, like people were trying to achieve it for years and no one could do it until one person did it. And I
40,000.
Like, don't quote me on this, but in that year, 24, 26 people then did it.
No. Look that up. It's more than that, bro. I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's a great point to make. Everyone had set the standard. And then as soon as that guy got that done, as soon as he broke through that line, I mean, some crazy number.
Yeah.
Broke it.
And then, like, I remember, like, growing up, like, my parents were figure skaters, and it was, like, everyone said, like, the quad was impossible. It's impossible. And then Elvis Stoico, boom, lands the first quad in competition, and now it's a standard. And, you know, it's no different. It's like in every other sport. And
I can't
like
believe we didn't name our boat Blades of Glory, by the way.
I know, right?
Dude, why? How did we miss that one? Whatever we're doing next.
The Flying Lotus, man. That's impossible.
That is.
It was over 1,400, by the way.
Yeah, okay, 1,400. Like, excuse me.
1,500?
1,400 people, yeah.
Was that year? Or
I don't know about that year. Since then, 1,400.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it was, I want to say it was like 20 or 24 or 26.
I know that's like 40,000. That was wrong. But
yeah, like when I came into CrossFit, it was, you know, if you snatched two blues. So if you had two blue plates, 225 pounds, if you could snatch that, you were a heavy hitter. If you could clean and jerk 315, you're a heavy hitter. You know, like
Just one time, right?
Like that. What's that?
Just doing it one time.
Yeah, just one rep. And
what's it at now?
And I mean, I remember a couple years ago, it comes down to like, you know, when the events get programmed into competition. So sometimes we won't see a similar event for, you know, a year or two.
Oh yeah, check.
But I remember last time there was like a 1 rep max snatch. I think there were 3 or 4 guys that were taking that made or attempted over a 300-pound snatch. Like early in my career, I snatched 315. But like then like the standard, like a couple guys start hitting a 405 clean. And then as soon as one does it, it's like, boop, 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 there's 5 more magically just hit it. You know, there's markers like that in every sport in CrossFit. It's like there are endless variations of benchmarks to chase. You know, it's like, it's not like Olympic weightlifting where there's a snatch and clean and jerk, and then you combine those, you get a total. Where like track and field, it's like you maybe run a couple different events, but usually like if you're a 1500 meter specialist or a 100-meter specialist, that's all you do.
Yeah.
In CrossFit, it is that there are endless benchmarks, and so it's kind of rewarding in a way of like you can always progress in something else. There's so many different things to be hitting. At the end of the day, though, like it can be frustrating too. If you're like,
dude, man, in the nation, everyone's coming for you, man. Everyone's coming for your. Everyone's coming after your job, right? If you're sitting on the top like that in the CrossFit Nation, oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, yes. In other ways, like you win it one season, the next season starts a couple months later. Like the games, I think usually ended like early August, and then the start of the next season starts usually February. And you go into that next season with a clean slate. You have to sign up the same as everyone else. You don't get a bye.
That's never changed. They'll keep it like that. Yeah, you got to keep going through, right?
Signs of it changing. I don't.
Yeah, probably wouldn't. That's probably one of the best things. If it started in there like that, it'll probably stay like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's always been debate on like, all right, if you won the games, if you're top 5 the year prior, you know, should you get a pass in? Because it ends up being a long season. Sure. You know, I've had it where it's like you take a month off and then you're right back into it. And then, you know, if you have to hit other competitions throughout the season to qualify or whatever, they change it every year of how you qualify. But yeah, there's always debate going back and forth. I don't think there's any sign of it changing. I think it doesn't matter if you won.
Well, man, you know what that also does?
You're starting from the same point as everyone else.
Yeah. But when you stayed at the spot you did for as long as you did, that sets a hard standard, bro. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially when you're still here whipping everybody's ass. That's a big deal. That was being set up like that. That's what that produces. So there won't be any question. Yeah. Like later down the road, there won't be any question who in the hell was the top dog back then. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Many people might not know this about you, but when you were younger, around 10, I think, you struggled with some stuff that could have kind of gotten you in your own way. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, like I always talk about, you know, like it's very easy to just paint it with a broad brush of like, you know, I was young and dumb. And I think it all comes down to, you know, your own experience of one person's interpretation of young and dumb might be a little bit different than others. And, you know, I thought my childhood, I thought my teen years were very normal because for the little network that I was in, they were pretty normal. But just in terms of,
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Vermont, but it's just, you know, like kind of what we were exposed to. And there's a couple like circumstances that, you know, introduced us to drugs and alcohol at an incredibly young age. You know, I thought I was, you know, I figured, I thought it was normal, you know, because I was with friends and they were all doing the same shit I was doing. But it was actually kind of funny. It was a couple years ago. One of my best friends, you know, his daughter came in and he's like, oh, you know, she's going into 4th grade, starting 4th grade tomorrow. I was like, oh, you concerned about drugs? Like, he had those talks with her and he was like, what? Absolutely not. Why would I do that? I'm like, oh, it's when I started experimenting with drugs. And he's like, he's like, dude, she still colors in a coloring book. Why would she be worried about that? Or why should I be worried? I was like, oh, fuck. I didn't realize. So, like it was just, alcoholism runs in my family. And, it didn't skip me. So, I partook, and, I took a couple of licks, got in some trouble. And it's one of those things that, like, okay, not every time I drank, I got in trouble, but every time I got in trouble, I had been drinking. And
touche. Touche.
And so, it was just one of those things, like it was all dumb stuff, like just bonehead things I got in trouble with. And I had been scouted by the coach out of the Olympic Training Center. I competed in Olympic weightlifting. I had an offer to go out to the Olympic Training Center, to live there, train there, go to school there. And just got arrested one too many times, and just all for dumb shit. And I had to be, I think I was 17, and I finally had a moment where I was like, what am I risking this golden opportunity for? Like, you can't train at a better place, you can't have better resources, and then add on top of it, like, the facility, the paid, like a scholarship for school, all this stuff. And I was like, I'm risking it all just to fuck around with my friends and over stuff that doesn't matter. And the writing was on the wall. Alcoholism runs in my family, and I had the resources right there to clean up my act. I had the network of friends that I could kind of let go of this network of friends and start hanging out with this one more and more. Like my dad always encouraged me to like just hang out with sober people. He had a whole sober network of friends, some that were closer to my age, and he always pushed me to hang out with go hang out with Nate. And he was a super fun guy. And, I never even really connected the dots of why my dad wanted me to hang out with this guy. Like, when you're 14 and your dad's telling you, hey, go hang out with this guy that's 21 or 23. And I'm like, that's weird, but it's cool. Like, this guy has his own car and all this stuff. And once I was a bit older, I pieced the dots together, and realized, like, oh, my dad knew Nate from being sober, and he knew that if I was with Nate, I wouldn't be drinking or drugging.
We are supported by GoodRx. If saving money is one of your New Year's resolutions, if you haven't heard it, one place you can save is on your prescription costs, and that's exactly what GoodRx helps you do. I was actually surprised to learn that prescription prices can actually vary between pharmacies by as much as $100. Imagine you go to one pharmacy, you pay $100 more than another pharmacy. That's crazy. Now I make sure to check GoodRx to compare prices at pharmacies near me and to find discounts that could save me up to 80%. 80%, that's just insane. GoodRx is free and easy to use and works whether you do or do not have insurance. Even if you have insurance, there's a good chance GoodRx can beat your copay price. You can check GoodRx online or on their app. From there, you can find prescription savings at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide, like CVS, Kroger, Walgreens, Rite Aid, Vons, Walmart, and more. GoodRx has been incredible for my family. I have a older mom who needs to get regular prescriptions for her health. I've got a nephew and niece who have an autoimmune disease, and they've got to get prescriptions regularly. So to know that we have GoodRx as an incredible resource to save them money on their prescriptions is just an incredible resource. So for simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, check GoodRx. Go to GoodRx.com/TNQ. That is GoodRx.com/TNQ. GoodRx.com/TNQ. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance. In 2021, GoodRx users saved an average of 79% on retail prescription prices. Check them out, GoodRx.com/TNQ.
So, the transition for me of, just going from like a little hooligan to, just being sober and actually kind of taking care of my own shit, it was pretty simple because I already had the network. I already had the resources. I already had the friends set up. So I was 17. It was my last day of summer vacation before my senior year. Was the last time I got arrested, and just dumb shit, just drinking with friends, got an underage drinking citation. And, it was that time that I was like, all right, I'm done with that shit. Like, this is going nowhere good. It's going nowhere productive. And so I cleaned it up and like,
bro, man,
cool.
17 must have been the age back then, because we went through that as well. And it was like a competition. Say mischief. It was just mischief. Like
Dude,
they call us the good old boys. Like, man, y'all didn't want us in the house, and like get outside, and we did, and then we would cut up, and oh yeah. And, you run all those in increments, man. Those are
my neighborhood. It was just there was like 15 or 20 kids all around the same age, and then of course like it was still during the era like before cell phones, before computers, and it was like you ride your bike around the neighborhood, and then you find the house where all the bikes are in front of the house. Well, that's where everyone is.
Yeah.
And then once enough kids do that, and then the parent comes in and they're like, nope, out. Like I got 20 kids out, get out of my house.
Yeah.
So you hang it outside, and then it's only a matter of time before someone like sneaks a cigarette, and someone sneaks a beer, and then it just escalates, and you're playing with fire. And yeah, for whatever reason, whatever, series of events that occurred, that, the network of friends that I was in, we indulged and it got aggressive. So I'm thankful that like I was able to get out so young, because, like New England, like we got swept with like just this opioid pandemic, and I'm just so grateful. Like, man, thank God I got out when I did, because I'm just watching these friends that it was just dumb schoolyard shit.
Yeah.
And then watching them, like it progress and progress and progress to the point that they're, you're dealing now with real life problems, not just being an inconvenience or getting in trouble, like here and there, a slap on the wrist. You're dealing with like life and death stuff. And now it's like, oof, okay, this is real. So yeah, that was definitely, I got out when I did. I'm thankful for it. It's definitely, life's a little bit better now. It's a little, not quite as chaotic.
Well, that's relative, right? It depends on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the lessons now. That's what I was kind of getting into earlier, man. As you progress through the ages rank, man. The more situations you find ourselves in, the more you find yourselves in. I never thought in a million years me and you would be racing together out in Florida. I mean, that wasn't in. Where does that even come from, right? And then,
trying to explain that one. Like when I'm like talking to my dad or something, I'm like, hey, he's like, oh, where you at? I'm like, I'm in Tampa. Yeah. He's like, oh, what are you doing in Tampa? I'm like, racing a boat.
Who you with? Like, and I was trying to name out like, man, I don't even know how they put this stuff together, but they do. So
yeah, someone made the mistake of giving us keys to this boat, and it's gonna get reckless.
Oh, so much fun, man. That was a go. I'm going to thank my wife again for letting me go play on that sucker, man.
Now, you broke your back too when you were pretty young. How did that affect your Olympic career and kind of where you're at now?
Yeah, I broke my back in 2 spots. So that was, it was, I had moved out to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs. I was 18, and, I was pursuing my Olympic dream, both my parents were Olympians. I wanted to become an Olympian, and I wanted it to become like this, like family tradition that like each generation has an Olympian in it. And
are there any families like that you know of? Since you come from that world.
I mean, there has to be, right? Like I know there's like father-son duos in the NBA and
sure.
NFL.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like I wonder if there's a pass down in a family with one of the sports in there where it's like, hey man, this is kind of what we do in this family. It's just, it's understood.
Yeah, maybe. I think when I was at the training center, I think there was a family in judo.
Yeah, that's kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Like,
it'd be something like that, right?
If you basically, and it was like a giveaway. Like if you had this last name, it's like,
yeah, you're good to go.
You got to tune up on some fools,
right? Awesome.
But yeah, so I was living in the Olympic Training Center, just like sole focus. 18 years old, like I didn't care about anything else.
What's that world like? What's that like, man? Is that like being in like signing up in the barracks? You get up regimented this morning. You're eating at this time.
No, like there's definitely a little more flexibility than that. But it was basically you could do whatever you wanted as long as it didn't interrupt training. So like I was trying to go to college, and I could only take 1, maybe 2 classes a semester because it couldn't interfere with training at all. Oh. You had a key card to get everywhere, and and like they would see like, okay, like you didn't get back to campus, you didn't get back to your dorm until 11 p.m. and now your training this morning is shitty. like they could
Oh,
put
going
in
like
curfews,
that.
they could make whatever rules they
Oh, right.
wanted
Yeah,
for
right.
you.
That.
um and so for me, I had nothing else on my plate. Like I was maybe taking like one class at college, like a community college down the road. um but all I cared about was training, and I was just training. I was lifting too heavy too often, and just didn't know any better. And I had a coach that was pushing me at the time. He was feeling some pressure from whether it was the Olympic Committee or USA Weightlifting to produce and have results. So when an athlete said like, "Hey, coach, my knee hurts, my back hurts," there wasn't much sympathy. There wasn't much accommodation. And it started like, "Hey, coach, my back hurts," and then one day in training, just lifting too heavy too often, and I was doing a clean pull, so it's basically like a deadlift with a big shrug at the top, and I hit the bar off my hip, and then it's just this loud, like big pop, and I just like dropped the bar and froze, and it felt like, have you ever had like those heat packs or ice packs, like the big green gel things, and you click the little metal thing in it,
Yeah.
and then you can watch it
Yeah.
expand through the whole thing? That's what it felt like in my back. Like I felt this big pop, and then I felt it just like take over my whole back, and like immediately just stopped. At I don't know if I went to the doctor. I just like went back up to my dorm and just like didn't show up to practice for a couple of days, couldn't walk for a couple of days, and was like, this is bad, like something happened, everything hurts. And I remember telling my coach like, "Hey man, like I hurt my back," and he said to me, he was like, "There's a difference between pain and injury."
Yeah.
And he just assumed that I was just young and being a pussy. I was 18, first time away from home. He figured I was looking for an excuse not to train for a couple of days. And then on top of it, I was on the junior world team, and we were leaving for Romania in like a week. And so it was too late to like call in the alternate. Even if I was injured, they can't call on someone a week prior to competition. They're not going to be prepared. And so he was basically like, "You have to keep training." And so it's like, fuck, okay. Kept training, like, got back into it, did a couple days easy. And then the day before leaving, it's like you hit like a heavy back squat. You get that stimulus of a super heavy weight a few days before competition. And so I remember like going for a max out back squat, hit the bottom of the hole, bottom of the squat, go to bounce out of it, and just like exact same pop, but on the other side. And same thing, just like felt it, the swelling just expanding through my whole lower back. And I'm like, fuck, I leave for Romania like tomorrow. And so went to Romania, tried to compete. And I remember like the team coach out there was like, "Hey man, like, what's your goal for this competition?" I was like, "I just don't want to bomb out. I want to make at least one lift in the snatch and the clean and jerk. Numbers, I don't care. My first time on a world stage, I don't want to bomb out." And so anyways, did that, went 2 for 6, terrible fucking performance. And I got back to the States, and I just put my foot down. I was like, I'm not lifting a fucking thing until I get an x-ray. Like something's wrong on my back. Something is fucked up. And so anyways, got x-rayed, and the doctor was like, "Oh yeah, here you go. There's a break here and a break here." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like it wasn't just in my head. And so the first like approach to fixing it is they put me in a torso brace, and it was like this hard plastic shell that went from nipple to hip, and it sucked. It was fucking hot, Colorado summer, and
Bro,
like and it like pinched my hip. Like I couldn't sit vertical because it just like dug into my hip bones. Anytime I sat down, it just pinched, and then you can't train. You're living at the Olympic Training Center. You're watching all your friends, all your competition, everyone training, progressing, competing, hitting PRs. And they're all making these accomplishments. They're qualifying for Pan Am's, qualifying for senior, all these different things. And I have to just fucking sit there, and there's nothing I can do. Like there's no rehab I can do to help my bone heal faster. There's no rehab I can do. Like I have to, the best thing to do is leave this thing immobile for 4 months. And yeah, so I did that. And I remember going in, for a 3-month checkup, and they're like, yeah, we're going to leave you in the brace for 1 more month. Stayed in for another month, go back in. I'm all excited. Like I already have my first training session planned out for my first day back, everything. And then the doctor was just like, yep, nothing's changed. Like, I was like, what do you mean nothing? Like, I just did that, the most miserable 4 months of my life for fucking nothing. And he was like, yep, you need surgery. And, so that like rocked my world. When you're 18, you don't know any better. You haven't been through anything. But it was tough. Like it was like I'm watching my lifelong dream just like get stripped away. And then it was like I just didn't want a fusion. I thought if I got fusion, my career would be over. I'd heard nothing but bad things about it. And there was a doctor out in California that he had just signed on with the Olympic Association. Total coincidence that I met this guy, and he was like, oh, I'll fix your back. I give it a 50-50 shot of working though, because of your age. He was like, if you were 12, it would be a guaranteed fix. And he's like, I did it on a 12-year-old. Perfect. I did the surgery on a 24-year-old, 26-year-old, and we knew it wouldn't work, but we were experimenting. So it didn't work. He's like, you're 19. I give it a 50-50 shot if it works. And so basically what he did, he went in, he re-broke the bones, put in two plates, 6 bolts to hold everything in place. And then he's like, now we wait to see if this shit heals. And so, I mean, if I thought the first 4 months in the brace was bad, this next few months, not knowing, I was literally told by the doctor it's 50-50 and there's nothing you can do to help it. It's just if your body takes it or not. And but yeah, that healed up. Slow fucking road back. I remember going back in and lifting with a broomstick for the first couple sessions. Then I remember lifting with an empty barbell. And I'm coming in like, man, I used to snatch 300 pounds. I used to clean and jerk 360. Like, I'm lifting with a fucking broomstick. Like, this is brutal.
Bro, talking about that brace, Mojo had my brother Morgan, man, when he got at that helicopter crash. We snuck him out of the hospital after they had the thing, and we put that brace on him upside down accidentally for like a week. With him, that curved part, the bottom that's supposed to go up.
It goes over your ass.
And he was like, "Man, this hurts so bad." And we're like, "No, you're good, man. Suck it up." And holy shit, I forgot about how bad those turtle shells. They're terrible, man. I was in one of them suckers.
They suck. And it was kind of funny. So like I have a shipping container on a property that I just store a bunch of my shit in. And I was in there looking for a piece of equipment the other day with my buddy. And the brace is sitting on the shelf.
You still have that damn thing, man?
Like, dude, after living in that thing for 4 months and the pain and agony it caused me, I was like, I can never throw this thing away. If I'm ever having a shit day, I'll just look at that thing and it's like, all right.
You're still young. I got plenty of those devices now, man. But let me tell you what else happens. I literally still get out of bed the same way that you had to when we were locked up.
Dude,
I mean, even if I'm from a dead sleep, I will catch myself doing the whole brace thing, roll over. Man, that thing, that was miserable.
I remember the first couple weeks. So I left Colorado. I got the surgery in California, went back home for like a week or two, and then I moved to Michigan. And like that was where the Olympic Education Center was. So like they require you to take school full time, because I was like, man, I just saw my sports career can end like that, and I need to have an education for when I'm done. And I'm living in a dorm room, sharing a dorm room with another guy, and it was like my first couple of weeks, I couldn't sit myself up in bed. It was like my alarm would go off. He would have to get down off the top bunk, basically like hug me and like set me up and turn me. And then I remember like walking to class, I couldn't put a backpack on. Like my back's fucking broken and I'm in this brace. Like I can't carry a backpack. And like Northern Michigan in January,
that's good.
holy shit.
cold. Yeah.
And so like I would bundle up. I'd have to leave for class like 20 minutes early because I would have to like shuffle across campus. And I would just like take like 3 pieces of paper, put them in my pocket, and a pen in the other pocket. And like I'm sure my teachers thought I was just lazy and like didn't want to bring the book or whatever it was. But I'm like, now this is all I can carry. Just shuffle through this Arctic to get to class. Oh, it was miserable. But like I wouldn't change that shit for the world.
I was just thinking that whole thing. I was like, you know what? Those moments, you don't ever hear those. Thanks for sharing that, by the way. That because people look at you now and what you've accomplished. I mean, there's been some of those crazy moments on the in-betweens. I don't ever think about them that much either, man, unless we bring it up. And I'm like, I forgot about that part. But yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's so easy to forget the miserable times, like, and just remember the highlight reel.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That, but like, I mean, in the moment, like I learned some valuable life lessons there of like, hey, don't rush back from something as simple as don't rush back from an injury. Like, your body knows the time it needs. Let your body heal. As soon as you try making up for lost time, you lose more time. But then just like grittiness too, of like, yeah, it's not enjoyable. I don't want to be lifting on a empty barbell again. I'm 19 years old and I'm starting from scratch. Like, I'm trying to be an Olympic hopeful right now, and I can't even lift my body weight.
Let's take a second to thank our sponsors and good friends over at Navy Federal Credit Union. You guys know that sometimes during the holidays we go a little bit overboard, especially the last year has been crazy. I know for some of us, we've kind of decided to spoil our family this year. And you know, sometimes that can take a toll on your finances. Well, Navy Federal Credit Union will help you take control of your finances after the holidays. You can actually get a low intro APR on their Platinum credit card. It is their lowest rate card, and it is a great tool to pay down debt. Navy Federal even has multiple savings investing options to help you get closer to those financial goals in the new year. They offer digital tools and educational resources to help guide your decisions. With Navy Federal, you can automate your savings and your investing to put your money to work for you even while you're sleeping. Plus, you can buy fractional shares. That's freaking cool. If you don't know about that, seriously, really cool feature. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Message and data rates may apply. Saving products insured by NCUA. Investment options are available through Navy Federal Investment Services and are not insured by NCUA. Make sure to check them out.
So that grittiness. But then there's the lessons that I didn't realize were valuable until after the fact. You know, like now, bro, there's not much that can derail me. You know, it's like I look back at how just like sad, depressed, hopeless I was when I was going through that and where I'm at now. And I'm like, oh shit, like, thank God I hurt my back. Thank God I went through that shit. Thank God my weightlifting career didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, because I would have never found CrossFit. Like, say I had pursued, like after my surgery, I came back from weightlifting. I hit all my old, like I beat all my old PRs, but I had lost love for it because I trained off resentment.
Yeah.
And so like resentment's a good fuel, but it's a hot burn fuel. You can't use it for too long. And so, you know, I walked away from that, but like if I had made the Olympic team and then I could put like a stamp of completion on my sports career, and then I would have gotten a desk job as an engineer. But because it didn't pan out that way, and like I still had this competitive itch, and that's what made me find CrossFit. And I'm like, holy fuck, I wouldn't trade the life I have now for any of that stuff. So anytime like there's a speed bump, I'm like, man, if I got through that shit, and like this is the end result of that situation, bring it on, let's go.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of situations, and like a couple where some bad shit happened, and it wasn't even like, okay, this is going to be a rough hole to dig myself out of. It was, I don't know if I can dig myself out of this. Yeah. I don't know. It's not, I don't know how to, it's, I don't know if it's possible. And in the moment, I remember just being broken, hopeless, but still thinking, I wonder what good is going to come of this.
Yeah. I
wonder, like 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, what silver lining is going to show itself from this situation.
Yeah.
You know, the easy example is like heartbreak, of like a girlfriend dumps you, and then however long later it is, you meet the person, you're like, oh, You're the one.
Yeah, right.
And it's one of those situations where like, thank God that girl dumped me. Like,
Right.
but like going from that hopelessness to like, oh man, you're now thanking your ex-girlfriend for doing that to you and put you through that miserable time, because now you found the one that you're supposed to be with. You know, that's just the easy example, because I feel like that's the one most people experience.
Sure.
But, you know, applying that, leveling it up of just like, okay, you know, if I got through that shit prior, bring it on. Like, let's go. Give me the speed bumps. Give me the challenges. Try to derail me. You know,
That's why
I'll find a way.
the age is ranked thing, because as you go through it in the beginning, that's why it's the beginning. It's one hell of a ride. I mean, it is. And then when you get through it, just like we explained earlier, it's like everyone else just kind of the reason it was chaotic is because there was people there that weren't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and when it starts to settle down, then you know who your class is, who's supposed to be around you, and then it becomes clear.
You know, and
most people can't see that. It just figures itself out and like works
that was
itself
another
out.
thing. Like when I was doing weightlifting, and it was like when I was doing well, when I was winning competitions, all this stuff, it was like everyone's there when you're doing well.
Sure.
And like everyone's there to pat you on the ass, and they want to be associated with the winner. But then, you know, when I hurt my back, and it was like people I thought were my friends, I'm like, yo, I need you now more than ever. You know, and you see like who kind of pulls away and then hitches their wagon to the new flash in the pan. Right. And so, you know, when we came into the sport of CrossFit, it was I was very much just a solo person. I was like, no, I don't want 100 friends. I don't want this big posse. I want one person with me that I know what they're going to say before they say it, and it's vice versa. You know, like it doesn't matter what they get offered. The grass is not greener on the other side to them. And I held that true all the way through. So all 5 years that I won, I have the same picture after each competition, and we're holding the check. I'm wearing the gold medal, and I got Sammy, my wife, on one side, and I got Matt O'Keefe on the other. And it was like, yep, like if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, bring a group. But I was very, very selective with who that group was, because I was like, I want to sleep well at night. I want to know that they have my best interest and I have theirs. And I don't need to account for 100 people. I don't need to pull favors. It was like, I'm going to be loyal to the people that are loyal to me. Yeah. And that's those two.
100%, man. And then the experiences of going through all that just to solidify it, like hammer it in. Mm-hmm. It's like you know that's a time tested deal. And that's, I think at a young age, and most of the stuff now, it's crazy when you get kids online, bro. Just wait. Is that all this stuff that we talk about right now? It makes sense when we go back and forth. Just when we were sitting around, I was like, man, you know, start talking. And the stuff that you say of how you motivate yourself, or moreover, what you have to go through, is kind of what motivates us, because we know how much pressure that is.
Yeah.
And then when it's time for us to pass that down to the next generation, the ones that are coming up, man, the way we deliver it, that's how you know if you pick something up, is if you can teach it to somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't know it well enough.
Yeah, it's not logical. We're talking about, yeah. You can say something, like explain something one way and everyone gets it. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, someone else has another way of explaining it to where only a couple people get it, a couple people can understand it, a few people don't even have any clue what it is, and that's the one they want to go with. But in reality, it's like, hey man, they're it's not that I'm not explaining it the same way you are. I am. I just explain it this way to where most people and everyone can hear it.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do.
I'm experiencing that now, like, you know, switching from like being a competitor into the role of being a coach.
Yeah.
And working with some athletes, and I know I'm a good coach because I didn't pick up on things naturally. I didn't just pick up a barbell and go, boop, I'm an amazing weightlifter. No, it didn't come naturally to me. So like it took someone trying like 20 different things with me to get that one cue. You know, like something as simple as swimming. It's like swimming didn't come naturally to me. I had to seek out multiple swimming coaches, and all of them were telling me the same information, but one just told it to me in a way that clicked.
Yeah.
And so now when I take an athlete in and I'm working with them, you know, sometimes the first way I explain something, the way that clicked with me is what clicks with them. But then I also know, like, okay, I got another dozen ways of explaining this, or a dozen different drills to do that. Like, yeah, they did nothing for me, but I know them because I tried them all.
Right.
Like none of this came naturally for me.
Yeah, you know it.
But trying to find that one thing that just for whatever reason, boom, clicks.
That's the trigger or the trick, right? I was explaining this. I was trying to explain the same concept to somebody else, and the way it got to me was when I started teaching my kid addition. We were going over the nines. It was like 9 plus 8, 9 plus 7, 9 plus 6. And for the longest time, I would use my fingers and try to figure that out until someone was like, all right, so whatever 9 plus 7, what's under 7 is a 6. So you put a 1 in front of 16. 9 and 5 is 14. 9, 3, 12. And when they told me that, I was like, wait a minute, that's the trick? And they're like, yeah. I was like, there's actually a trick to everything.
Yeah.
But what people don't teach you is that. Like you and I, if we're sitting around, someone's like, hey, man, how did you become great? Well, I get up every morning at 4 and I meditate for 97 hours. And then there's the outline, right? But then there's also your gift. That's what your gift is. And when you realize your gift in your sport or your moment, that's the greatest thing you can get, because especially if you give it to somebody, they're like, man, this is how I figured this out.
So I've always, like, people always want the quick, the punchy, the sexy line of like, what makes you different? What makes you great? Like, why are you winning by this certain amount, whatever it is? And there's so many variables. You're dedicating your life to it. You know, there's no quick, simple thing. But the thing I came up with was like the most valuable thing, and I think it's contributed the most, is learning how to learn. And for me to learn a topic is different than my wife, is different than my friend, is different than my athlete. But me being able to dissect myself and figure out the formula, like, okay, I don't know this. Why don't I know it? What about it, makes me uncomfortable? What about it makes me unfamiliar? And knowing how I best react in my best learning environment and breaking it apart, dissecting it, figuring all these things out individually, and then reapplying them all. I learned that shit in college, and then I apply it to everything. And now it's like how you do anything is how you do everything. And like how I learned how to do thermodynamics and mechanical engineering applies to me learning how to have proper rowing technique when I'm competing in CrossFit. It's the same as me, learning about investing in real estate, business, all the shit. It's like, well, no, let me break it. Like, I don't know how to do that. And most people, that's where it ends. They just go, I don't know how to do that.
All right, guys, let's take a second to thank our sponsors over at Squarespace. If you are an entrepreneur, maybe you are a blogger, maybe you own a business of your own, sometimes the most challenging part of that can be launching a website. If you guys have never heard of Squarespace, they have given you every single tool you need, from websites to online stores to marketing tools and analytics. They've created an all-in-one platform to build that beautiful online presence to run your business. And I've been a huge fan of Squarespace for some time. I actually own a web development marketing agency, and so I build a lot of websites, and I think hands down, Squarespace is the easiest do-it-yourself website builder for someone who wants to just get something beautiful launched to be able to run their business. Now, I know there's a lot of our listeners out there that have nonprofits and charities and small businesses and blogs, and there are authors. And I think that if you need to get a website launched for the new year, maybe you've been thinking about kind of just taking a passion project of yours and doing something about it this year, Squarespace is the place to start. We've got a lot of incredible features, but I'm going to talk to you guys about the ones that I think are the most important for you guys. E-commerce is number one. I think for anybody who's launching a website, typically the number one thing that they want to do is try to make some money. Squarespace will give you all the tools you need to get your business off the ground, including those e-commerce templates to help you with your inventory management, to help you with the checkout process, secure payments, all that you guys need to have that merchandising, which honestly, if you know anything about web design, that can be a really complex task, and Squarespace has made it super, super intuitive. Another great thing that they offer is the ability to collect donations for those nonprofits and charities. You can support your cause by gathering contributions with PayPal, Apple Pay, Stripe, Venmo, all the ways that you're probably already collecting funds, but in a way that's probably a little bit messy. That's not going to be a problem for you anymore, because if you drop it into Squarespace, it's going to be beautiful, it's going to be simplified, it's going to be all the way you need it. And most importantly, analytics. If you're going to launch a website, then you need those powerful analytics to know who's visiting your site, how they got there, how they're engaging with your content, how much time they're spending on it, what they're reading. That way you can continue to cater your website to make your customers happy. So if you're ready to launch that new business, that new idea, that new book, that new charity, that nonprofit, whatever it is, make sure to do it with Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, make sure you guys go to our special link, which is squarespace.com/TNQ. You're going to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. You guys are not going to want to miss out on that offer. I'm telling you, it is the easiest place to build a beautiful website that's going to do every single thing you need it to do. Squarespace.com/TNQ, save 10%. Make sure you guys support our sponsors because they support us.
And for me, and like a lot of successful people, it's like they go, I don't know how to do that. Well, what about it don't I know? Which individual piece? All right, let me break each one of those down, figure that out.
Yeah.
Then put it all back together. Do I know it now? Nope. All right, let's break it. That's right. That for me, I look at it as like, that's my trick, is the ability to learn, the willingness to learn, the willingness to be a beginner, but learn. Once I learned how to learn, that was a very valuable thing for me.
Well, know thyself, know how you learn. I think a lot of time, and now that you watch the kids, and when we were in class too, I didn't get like that one size fits all. This is how we're doing this. Man, if you could actually explain it every different way to when they understand it, because that's the thing. It's like when you're trying to teach something and they're like, man, I'm not getting that. There is a way to explain it to them. It's like there's somehow, some way, there's some instructions that allows you to communicate like that. And it's brilliant. And the cool part is the more you do it and the more people you come around, it gives you more ammunition. I mean, damn, bro, that stuff that those crews we've been running around with doing all that fun stuff, man, I just sit and listen to them talk. And the stuff that comes out of their mouth is hilarity, but I mean, it's knowledge for sure.
I mean, any time I have the opportunity to be with someone that is an expert in their craft. Like I have buddies that are, our careers have nothing in common. Like I have a buddy who's one of the best welders in the world. I have a buddy who's like one of the best table makers, the best snowboarder, like all these different things. And it's like every time we start talking about like our careers, how we got into it, our passions, anything, they're fucking parallels. They're the exact same. It's just we're applying it to a different avenue.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. Like I've talked to some other athletes that our sports have nothing to do with each other, but like the psychological games that they play with their competitors were identical to the ones that I played. And I remember one specifically, buddy of mine, he was talking about like him warming up for like a half pipe event and these games that he plays with his competitors, and Sammy is cackling to the side because she's watched me do the exact same thing, but in a CrossFit gym. And she was like, holy shit, you two are two peas in a pod. Just he slides down a hill and you pick things up and put them down.
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly. You're the one that picks things up and builds the hill. He's the one that goes up and slides back down them.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, bro, when you start putting those crews together, that's how that's life. Like, because each one of you has something to do, and you get out there and like, man, I go do this because I love to watch them do what they do, and that kind of that's where that bond comes in. So yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean that's where it can either be great or dangerous.
Sure.
Like you put a bunch of competitive people together and be like, hey, here's a boat. Who can go the fastest?
Yeah.
And it's like, we're all like-minded. We're all competing.
Well, I would imagine that's how everything around us has been built. Hey, bro, like we ain't got nothing to do. Let's get the boat and paddle over there and see what we can build, do, go how far back you want to. Countries have been built and fallen over that same. Let's go find something to do. Right.
Matt, I got one more question for you. We usually kind of wrap the podcast up by asking someone what their greatest never quit advice is, but I think I have something that might be more relatable for our audience, and I think it's something you could speak to, which is, how could people manage their nerves when they're on a big stage or when they're faced with a moment of adversity or when they feel like they've got this huge goal that they've got to accomplish? How do you handle yourself?
Oh, man. I mean, this is a good one. I mean, I can talk about this one for a while because I think there's a lot of misconceptions around it of, when someone says, I'm nervous or I'm scared, whatever it is. having an emotion and letting that emotion dictate your actions are two completely different things. Every single event that I did on a big stage, I threw up, like right before going out. So like you're in the warm up area, 15 minutes before your heat gets called, they call like, all right, heat 4, everyone over here, and then they put an ankle timer on you and they put you in corrals like you're like a racehorse, and so you're in the order that you're going to go out on the floor on. And every time we would get in the corrals, and my nerves were so crazy that I just start dry heaving until you just hit it, and then
hit it.
a lot of times competitors would be next to me, like if it was a rookie, they're watching me and they're like, what the fuck is happening? And I think a lot of times some athletes saw it and they're like, oh, he's nervous, good. And my manager, who had my coaches band every year, he would, like, if I didn't throw up, he would be nervous.
Right.
As soon as he saw me dry heaving, he goes, good, he's ready. It was just such a normal thing. And I think for some, they have those nerves and they cower away from them. They go back to that place that's comfortable to get rid of those nerves. And for me, I was like, well, no, who gives a shit if I'm scared? Who gives a shit if I'm nervous? Like if I'm insecure, whatever it is. Having those emotions dictate your actions are a totally different thing. And not once did I ever cower away. And just knowing the confidence, like, hey, like, you're nervous. If you go out there and you're nervous and it takes you 10 minutes of fumbling around, it's going to be the same 10 minutes as if you ran away, So it's like this 10 minutes is going to pass no matter what. So for me, it was like looking at a workout. I'm like, all right, this is going to be an 8-minute workout. This is going to suck. This is going to hurt. At no point in it am I going to be having a good time or like this. So it's like I can
think about that psych out, man, right?
I can give a half effort and make this workout last 9 minutes, but it'll hurt a little bit less. But knowing that, all right, 10 minutes after the workout's done, you're going to be fine. Your heart rate's going to be down. You're going to have your breath back. You're going to be getting a sip of water. Everything's going to be good. You can either choose to make yourself proud in that workout, or you can regret it for the rest of your life. And I was fortunate enough to have that laid out in front of me early in my career, where like I chose the instant gratification, the path of, I'll go a little bit easier right now. And I saw the pain and anguish that it caused me, thinking like, what if I just gave it my all for that extra, for that 8 minutes, make it hurt a little bit more. Maybe I wouldn't be disappointed in myself. And so always knowing that, like, for me going into a workout, it was like, all right, this workout's 10 minutes. In 20 minutes, I'm going to feel fine. I'm going to be back to my normal self, enjoy myself, joking around with friends. But I have the choice of if I want to make myself proud or be disappointed about the effort that I put forward. So literally, no matter the situation I'm going into, I think about, all right, what do I want to think back on this situation? What do I want my emotions to be on this situation tomorrow, in a year, in 10 years? Do I want to be proud of the effort I gave, or do I want to just take the instant gratification and kind of, not give it my all?
That's amazing, because sometimes, there are some things I got into, man, or training that we did it when we were young that we do all the time now. And it's like so much a part of our life that you don't even notice it. It's like there's some things that you can get good at and you can get proficient at. Some things that happens immediately. And then sometimes it takes practice to where just to get that repetitive thing going. I tell my kids 2 weeks. I'm like, man, you want something, wait 2 weeks. If you still want it, I'll get it for you.
Yes.
And then
that is I learned that about myself.
Yeah, yep. I'm the same way. I'm like, hey man, yeah. Let me go screw this up for a while, play with it for a little bit, and then I'll get back to you. If we still want to go. And then that's also about the time when I remember when we were hurt, right? And you're trying to come back in out of that, and that after 2 weeks, that's when your body gets the weakest. It's like when you think you look the most out of shape, and that's almost life and your body saying, hey man, we do this for a living. You sure you want to do this? And then if you just go that extra day, it's like, yeah, all right, now you're in it. And someone will usually recognize it. They'll be like, hey man, have you been doing this? And then that perpetuates the body. I've always heard that or you hear it a lot, like mind, body, and spirit. Mind, body, and spirit. There's some people born into this world, they're body people. Like, what gym do you go to? What martial art do you train, and why? I was like, well, man, it talks to my body in this way. I'm like, all right, well, why? There's the mind people. Like, why do you educate yourself in that building? Why those books? Because we're all different. And then with the spirit, why that church? Why this, that, and the other? I mean, if you were so involved with your mind, if you work on all those other two, you can't even believe when you put all three of them together. Most people go through their lives doing the one or the two. Very rarely do people put much effort into all three. Like guys like us, man, we get into something and we wholeheartedly just until we get it so good that all those others learn automatically.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like it kind of for me. I know it goes back to like how you do anything is how you do everything. Like rarely do you meet someone that takes care of themselves physically, but they're showing up late to work, or they're not putting effort into their relationship or whatever it is. And so it's like when you meet somebody that's successful in business, and then you like, oh man, you have the greatest relationship with your wife. You're great with your kids. Like your business is thriving. You're smart. Like you're amazing. How you do anything is how you do everything. It's not that person just like everything they touch happens to turn to gold. It's that, for me, no, I work hard in the gym, but that also means when I was in college, I worked hard there. When I had a job, I worked hard there. With my wife, I worked hard there. So it's just making sure I'm the best. I'm trying to be the best at everything. And all that is just a result of working my ass off at anything that I decide, like, this is of value to me. So I'm going to apply effort there. And I remember having those friends growing up where you're like, man, everything you touch turns gold. And it's like, no, they just work at everything.
Yeah. I worked so hard, I dig all the crap out around it, and the gold was already there. That kind of thing, man. It's just, for sure.
You've got a brand new book coming out this new year. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was kind of like my first project in retirement. I knew I wanted to take on some projects. I was stepping away from competition. And I was like, I got to have some ducks in a row, things to like occupy my mind, because we're gonna have a lot more free time. And so, the book was kind of like one of the obvious choices. And it was so many things that I've wanted to say. Rarely do you meet someone that's good at something and they don't enjoy talking about it. But for me, it was my competitive edge that I had figured things out and I didn't talk about it. I didn't want to help my competition. I didn't want to, give them an advantage of like the knowledge that I picked up over the years. And so this book is literally just a book about that, of like these little things of how I approached different styles of training when I was bad at something. How did I get better at it? For competing, these little tiny things through competition that a lot of competitors never pick up on. They walk out on the floor and they're like, okay, I need to go as hard and as long as I can. And for me, I'm looking at, all right, how can it be as efficient as possible? Where can I gain a second in this 10-round workout? So, it goes into basically everything in my competition career of, what I ate, how I structured my life, the training I did, how I competed, how I looked at competition, how I worked on weaknesses. And it's just kind of all the things that I've wanted to talk about through my whole competitive career, but it would have been a big disadvantage to me if I gave my competitors my playbook. So as soon as I stepped away from the competition floor, I was like, all right, here we go. Like, you guys want to know the secrets? Here's what I did. Yeah. So yeah, it comes out, it's on pre-order right now, but it gets released January 11th.
I'm sure mine's already here somewhere. Melanie, one of you guys probably already.
They're going to send it to us.
Where it's signed,
they just reached out to us.
Just making sure.
You'll be getting your copy.
Hey, bro. Yeah. That's
HWPO.
awesome. Hey, man, we're going to take care of you for sure.
Is that the name of the book?
Yeah. HWPO.
I always, man, you said something earlier, kind of hit me. When we were growing up, when they had the cross training, like the athletes, Gen X, like everything that we do is cross trained into something else. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to some of my buddies, and when they were saying, when we get out, going into being the family life is kind of difficult. I was like, we don't ever get out. It's like everything we learn, we just keep adding on to it.
Yeah,
like
we're just applying it to
whatever we do. Thing. Yeah, being a husband, being that, doing no matter what we do, everything is everything, right? Anything is everything. So it's like kind of what do you put into it? And a lot of times, man, just take those. It's a step-by-step process. It's not a everyone can look at what you've got in front of you and be like, man, how in the hell do you do that? But it's like, man, this just didn't happen in a second. This took some time.
Yeah, I forget who it was, but they said it took me 17 years, 3 months, and 2 days to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
And,
man,
that's how I looked at my CrossFit career of, like in relative terms, I came on to the scene very quickly. But it's like the reason I was able to come on the scene very quickly is because I had a 10-year Olympic weightlifting career that allowed me to hit the ground running now. I wouldn't have had this, like, if you want to call it instant success in the space, if it wasn't for that 10 years of training every single day. And then I came into space. And then even after that, it was still 3 years till I won my first world championships. And, it's a lot of hours, and it's not every day that you're in the gym with a group. It's not every day that a camera's on you making a highlight reel. I'm in my basement alone. I'm in my garage alone, just hammering my head against the wall, trying to figure this shit out.
Yeah, man, if people had to watch that, I don't think they'd probably hate it. That's the grind part. It's that instant gratification you were talking about. I was like, hey man, let's see. Look how good that's what they like watching.
I remember, like, when I was still competing, people asked, like, are you gonna release your training once you're done? And I was like, honest to God, I don't know, because I don't think people would want to do it. It's not the sexy stuff. It's not the stuff you've seen on the competition floor of, transitions and all. I'm like, it's all single modality. It's so much technique work. It's so much just removing as many variables as I can to give a full effort on this one singular task. And that's it. And then do that shit 10 times a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And then after 50 weeks, you get 3 days in front of a crowd to cheer for you.
Yeah. No, that's not where it's, if it was just that, it wouldn't be worth it. It's like, man, we actually like that grind part that you're talking about. Those moments where it's repetitive cycles, and then the applying it in there and letting everyone see it is that's a reward.
Yeah,
too, though,
like,
man,
like
sure.
if you just showed up and applied zero effort to something and then found out you're incredible at it, you might do it, but it's like, man, you don't value it the same because you didn't invest anything into it. It's when you have this reward at the end of a just grueling day that's where the sweetness is.
Oh, for sure, man.
Matt, thanks so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate you coming on and chatting with us, man.
Absolutely.
Hey, what can our listeners do to support you guys? Support you and what you got going on?
Right now, my biggest like platform, biggest communication is just Instagram. Matthew Fraz, Matthew with 1 T, Fras. But yeah, that's it.
We'll do it, man. We'll get that book. We'll push all that stuff for you, bro. It's good seeing you, man. Thank you for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so glad we finally got this to line up.